Hi everybody, welcome back to our second training session for MYOB. In this training session, we're going to be looking at how to enter in our opening balances for our company. Now, just to set the scenario here, our business is a printing service and we provide designing of brochures and flyers, which is a service. And we also create flyers and business cards and whatnot, which will involve inventory. So we're actually selling items. So just to set the context, the other thing that needs to be known as well is obviously our business has been trading. It's not a new company. Hence, we're going to be required to put in various opening balances and pre-conversion sales and invoices, as well as purchases in the next assignment. So essentially, what would happen is assuming here that you are moving from another accounting system or you were previously using a manual system, you will have accounts either through a closing balance sheet report or trial balance report, provided either by your accountant or bookkeeper. You'll use these balances at a certain date as closing balances on that other system and opening balances on your new system, which is MYOB. So that's the context. The exercise will cover a few steps. First one will be how to create new accounts when required. Secondly, we'll need to enter in the balances into MYOB. And we'll also need to edit and modify some of the existing accounts as well. So the steps are there on the first 1 or 2 pages of your training exercise. I'm going to be looking at the information on the later part of page 2, which has your accounts and the debits and credits. Now, a thing to note here is our debits and credits. Now, MYOB recognizes that certain accounts, so for example, the first account, which is St. George Bank account, you'll notice that if we go into our accounts list, if we go to assets here, you'll see that our bank accounts here are listed as asset accounts. Now, MYOB recognizes that any balance entered into an asset is a debit account. So it's a little bit of accounting here. So assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity, which is the accounting formula, which defines assets as being a debit account. So when we enter this figure in, so the first line item here is 101,398 and 45 cents, and it's saying that this is under a debit. You don't have to actually do anything here. By entering that in as a figure here, it will automatically debit this account. So I'm going to start with the first one. Now, as per the training exercise, what we need to do is we need to go to setup over here, easy setup assistant, and we're setting up our account. So we go here, and then we go to next, and that's our list of accounts. And going to next over here will enable us to enter in the information, the accounts, and going back will enable us to edit our accounts or create new accounts. Right, so first of all, I'm going to edit the first account. So this is a business bank account. It's already set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just rename it, and I'm going to call it our St. George Bank check account. Try again. Bank check account. And I can either enter the balance in here, 101,398, 45 cents, or I could have went to next and entered it in here as well. Now, it's not appearing at the moment because it needs to refresh. Okay, so don't be too concerned at this stage. Go back. entered it in here, which is good. Petty cash. All right, so that's the next one. So we scroll down here, and what you can do is you can fast track it by going directly into the opening balances here. Find our petty cash account. Do we have a petty cash account? We might not have a petty cash account. We do have a petty cash account. Here it is, 500. And then we've got trade debtors, which is here, which is 21,209. Now we've got a less provision for doubtful debts account. Now this one we have to create a new account for this provision account, which is 1-1360. So what we need to do is therefore go back and go to new, 1-1360. Give it a name. Let's provision for doubtful debts. Okay. Okay. Now it's asking for a code. Now this is a provision for doubtful debts is an asset account. It's not going to require a GST. GST typically comes into the picture when we're buying and selling items. So any account which is an income or an expense account which attracts GST, according to taxation legislation, we need to select the GST. Now, asset items, liability items, equity items don't require typically GST, unless, for example, you're purchasing a company vehicle and there's GST involved there, then in that scenario, it's an asset, you would have GST. But let's assume here it's GST taxation, superannuation, for example, which is a liability account, will be NT. So I'll cover that as we go, but for now, this particular account is NT, doesn't attract GST, so we go next. I'm going to find that less provision for doubtful debts account. Go back. Where is it? Come and try that again. I didn't try that through. Okay, let's start again. Actually, there's a step that I missed. Before we click on new, I'm going to have a look at our chart of accounts. And as I mentioned earlier, less provision for doubtful debts is an asset account. Now, why I selected 1-1360. I've had a look at our current accounts and I've selected 1360 as the next available account reference to use. There's no particular formula as to what's right or wrong here, as long as if you've selected it as an asset account, being 1, which starts off with 1. So let me try that again. 1-1360. Saying that it already exists, so I believe this account already exists. Okay, so it already exists. It's already created. Why didn't we see it? 13. Here it is. It is there. Okay. All right. Let's look for it over here. 1360. We need to refresh this. Okay. All right. Let's refresh it. I'm going to cancel this and go back. Next. 1360. Good. All right. Let's provision for doubtful debts. This time it's a negative figure. So 1780. We put in as a negative. It's an asset, but it's a provision. Hasn't occurred yet. Hence we're making an allowance for it. Hence it's a negative figure. Just checking that our accounts come across here. We've refreshed it. Yes, it has. Inventory. Okay. Inventories is an account which already exists. So here it is. 18 431 85. Repayments is a new account, 1-1370. Back, new, 1-1370. Prepayments. I'm going to put it in here because I don't want to have to keep refreshing. 3800. Okay, and it's repayments on the loan. There's no GST involved, so I'm going to select NT for that. Printing cost, it requires a new one. Now you're probably asking why I'm creating these new accounts, because at the current moment we have got the following accounts that are predetermined by MYOB: furniture, office equipment, and whatnot. Because we don't have an existing account that we can use, we'll have to create a new one. So printing equipment, 1-2610, so new. One being for assets, 2610 is our account. This time around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a header. I'm going to call this one printing equipment. I'm going to tick heading. You'll see what's going to happen now. So as a heading, there is no balance required. Okay. And I'm going to call this one, instead of 3610, I'm going to call it 3600. And the next one I'm going to create, which is going to be 2610, is going to be a detailed account. And it's going to be for printing equipment at cost. And it costed 124,380. And printing equipment at cost did have GST. Yeah. At cost, I'm going to put depreciation. So this time it's going to be 2620. Right, the other one was 2610. This one is going to be 2620. Printing equipment accumulated depreciation. And it has depreciated. This is a negative figure because depreciation is not an asset. But for the MYOB's fixed asset register, it's put in under an asset. And the reason for that is, I'm going to click on OK and explain in a moment. Depreciation does not involve GST. Now what I've done is I've created a header account as follows, and at cost and depreciation account, so that essentially this is another method of a fixed asset register. So what MYOB will do is it will look at the cost value and take the depreciation value from how much it costed, and it will give us a total of what the equipment is currently worth after it's been depreciated, so that you can have a record of our total value of our assets. So if I've looked down here, just I put the value in I have. Okay, so that's printing equipment. Furnitures and fixtures is the next one. I believe we've got furniture and fixtures accounts here. Furniture, yes. Okay, I'm going to go to here and 23,450. Okay, the total amount. I'm going to go here, 23,450 and 60 cents, like that. And the depreciation amount is going to be a negative figure, and it is 954,954.90. Just checking how we're going for our record. 15 minutes. Okay. That's finished in fixtures. Now we've got improvements. We've got an improvements account, which is also an asset account. And we've got improvements amortization, which is similar to a depreciation account, and we have to create new ones. So once again, we go new here, 2710, 2700, because we're going to have a header account for improvements. And we're going to have new again, 2710 this time round, detailed account, improvements at cost. And we have a value of 31,900. And we're going to select NT for improvements, or that may be GST as well. I'm going to leave it for NT for now. This can be changed later down the track. And we go to new again, improvements amortization 2720. And the amount here is going to be negative figure, and it's 7975. Okay. Now we've got office equipment. Okay, select NT here. Okay, so looking at what we have at the moment as per. We've got office equipment at cost. We've got printing equipment, which we've already used. Right. Computers, office equipment. Here we go. Okay, so we click on the arrow. We're going to put in the figure 24,290 for the cost value, and the depreciation value is a negative figure 18,990. 18,990. Done that up to trade creditors. Now, just going to cancel out of this, go back into it so I can refresh that, and give you an idea as to what this is looking like in terms of our running balance, which is over here. So you can see here that figures that we've been entering in so far are appearing. And we've got this amount to be allocated. Because our assets equals liabilities and owns equity, once we enter in all the figures, you'll find that that should be 0. And once it is 0, then we can next and continue. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. Go back over to here. I'm up to our accounts payable, which is what we owe, which is therefore a liability. And I'm looking for that over here, and under liabilities, valuation, trade creditors. Here it is. Another name for accounts payable, trade creditors, 1702,610, 1702,610. And if I really wanted to, I could have changed that name or edited the account. I'm not going to worry about that. Other payroll liabilities is the next one. So I'm going to go up. Other payroll liabilities. GST will be up there. So credit cards, pay as you go, superannuation, payroll activity, liabilities is here. We're looking at $850. And then we've got pay-as-you-go with holdings, which is taxes that we're withholding from our employees. See that over here somewhere. 5935, 5935 and 50 cents. Our loan repayment for AGC, business loan 1. I'm going to use that particular account which is already here. Information. Here we go. And it is 28,000, sorry. Owner's capital, which is an equity account. Under here, 150,000. As you can see here, I've got that amount left to allocate. Retained earnings, put that in, man, 78,351, 30 cents. Now I've got 38,000 remaining, which says to me that there might be an error. I may have made an error, a bit of an error. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cancel this and refresh it and have a look at my accounts. No, it's not appearing. I don't know why that's not appearing, but let me just try again. Assistant, accounts, next. For some reason, it did not record the last few transactions that I entered in. So I've got to go backtrack now and find out where I was at. Improvements amortization was in. Office equipment at cost. Office equipment at cost has been recorded fine. Trade debtors. This is where. Let's try that again. 17,026.10. I didn't record it earlier, but let's continue. Other payroll liabilities, 280.50. Pay as you go withholding, 59.35.50. Just going to go back and just refresh that and see those changes it is. Okay. AGL repayment, loan repayment, it's going to be under this one here, 28,000. We've got our owner's capital there, and then we've got a retained earnings, which is over here, 78,351, 30 cents. Okay, so that's where we were previously. Now let's backtrack and see where we've gone wrong. Okay, so we've got our asset account here. We've got where's our petty cash? Petty cash is not there. So we're going to do petty cash in. Petty cash is there. Trade debtors, not there. This is the issue that we've had. It has not picked up some of the transactions we entered. Negative 17 for inventory. Inventory is not there either. That's provision for doubtful debts. Has that come across? No, it hasn't. Negative 1780. Back to inventory. 18,431 and 85. And there's our result. So be wary as you do this. Be careful. For some reason, it does not always store the values. So I suggest you go back and go next as you go through this. Amount to be allocated at 0. We're okay with that. Hit next. Congratulations. All ties up nicely. Close that one off. And to just finalize things, we're going to have a look at our trial balance report. So this trial balance report is going to match the trial balance report that you would have used from your old system. We go to accounts here. There's two ways of having a look at real reports. You can go up here and find the same report, or you can use the icon down here, which is my preferred way. Go to accounts, scroll up to the top, trial balance as of May, display. Now what we're looking for here is we want to make sure that, first of all, this figure, trial balance report, final figure, total figure, is as follows. And your debits and credits obviously are aligned. If you make a mistake, what MYOB does is actually put a new account in here called historical balancing. And it uses this historical balancing account to balance your accounts. So the trial balance does balance. So if you make a mistake, that's where you'll find it, and you'll find the figure that you're out by, and you can use that figure to try to identify what you haven't put in or what you have incorrectly put in. So that's the completion of our first training exercise for MYOB. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and until next time, take care.